India has one of the largest and most complex education systems in the world, with 26.5 crore children going to 15 lakh schools taught by 95 lakh teachers. In order to ensure learning outcomes for all children are met, Central Square Foundation, or CSF, has been working with state governments dedicatedly towards system-led reforms to ensure quality access to school education in schools across India. Tomorrow, on the occasion of Teachers' Day, the Indian Express, in association with CSF, is curating a series of conversations with educators and experts of the field on the importance of achieving foundational learning in a child's future learning journey. Make sure to tune in tomorrow morning. The conversation will follow our regular 3 Things episode and will be available on our website, indianexpress.com, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Now, on with the show. In this episode, we talk about 156 drugs being banned by the central government. We also talk about the Aparajita Woman and Child Bill passed by the West Bengal Assembly. But first, we talk about Indian para-athletes creating history at the Paris Paralympics 2024. Hi, I am Niharika Nanda, and you are listening to 3 Things, the Indian Express news show. 2nd September became a historic day for India at the Paris Paralympics. For the first time ever, India won 8 medals at the Games within one day. For the longest time, the most medals won by India within a day was 4. This record was broken in 2020 in Tokyo, when India won 5 medals within 24 hours. And at the Paris Paralympics, Indian para-athletes created history by bagging 2 gold medals, 3 silver medals, and 3 bronze medals within a day. Out of these 8, 5 were won in badminton, 1 in javelin throw, 1 in archery, and 1 in discus throw. To learn how this historic day played out, we have Indian Express's Vinayakk Mohanarangan joining us. Vinayakk, can you begin by telling us how has India been performing at the Paris Paralympics?
Quite good so far. Of course, before the Paralympics began, they had repeatedly said that 25 was a target. And to put that in context, Rio 2016 was 4 medals, and that was the joint highest in the history of Indian Paralympics at one Games. And then in Tokyo, they shattered that by winning 19 in one edition. So 25 was a pretty decent ambition to have, given that sort of graph that they were on. And as of the moment that we are recording, it's 15 medals so far, and just 4 shy of Tokyo, which they should be able to at least manage in the next few hours or maybe the next day or so. So yeah, considering that, it's been quite good so far.
And 2nd of September, the day that has become one of the biggest days for India in the Paralympics. Can you tell us how the day unfolded?
Yeah, I think it already is the the most successful day ever in the history of Paralympics for India. Without a doubt. Like I just put in context, before Tokyo, we had never won more than 4 medals in the entire edition of Paralympics. In Tokyo, they had one day where there were 5 medals, and if I'm not mistaken, there was another day where they had won 4 medals. So that's kind of like the steep increase that we witnessed in Tokyo. And when I saw the schedule for September 2nd, even in our daily editorial meeting that for the day, we had sort of said that, it's an 8 or 9 medal day potentially. So we need to be ready. So it was kind of expected. It didn't take us by surprise, given the events that were lined up where Indians were medal contenders in quite a few of them. So that it wasn't a surprise, because we had known the day, like once the schedule was confirmed, that it's going to be a very significant day. Yeah, in that sense, I don't think we're going to get more than 8 in one day for the rest of the Paralympics. So slightly tempering the expectations there. But yeah, this is going to probably remain the most significant medal day in the history of Indian Paralympics.
Right. And India seems to have a very talented set of athletes as far as javelin throw is concerned. Whether we talk about the Olympics or the Paralympics, Indian athletes have always broken records. And this year too, we earned a gold medal. So tell us how it all happened.
Yeah, historically speaking, even before Neeraj burst onto the scene around 2015-2016, back in 2004, there was Devendra Jajaria, who had won gold medal in the 2004 Athens Paralympics in his category. And he is now the current Paralympic Committee of India's president. And just speaking of the javelin strength, Sumit burst onto the scene, and he was already kind of, world championship medalist. He was there and thereabouts, but what he did in Tokyo 3 years back was made all sorts of headlines, breaking the world record thrice in one event and winning the gold was absolutely sensational what Sumit did. And he's just gone on from strength to strength since Tokyo. He's won 2 World Championships gold since then. And he won the Asian Games gold last year with a 73-meter throw around there and thereabouts, which happens to be the farthest the javelin has been thrown in para-athletics by anyone across the different categories that you have. So no one has thrown farther than what Smith has done in para-athletics. So that was a sensational record. Last night, at Paris, he defended his gold, and it's another one of those events where you knew that he was an outright favorite, not just for a medal, he was the outright favorite for gold. And there are a few more javelin events where the Indians are expected to do well in the next couple of days, maybe a medal or two still to come. And so javelin, more so than Olympics, Paralympics, has been a source of quite a few medals. I mean, if we are to pick one event that is doing really well in India in track and field, it's hands down javelin.
And out of the 8 medals, 5 were won in badminton. And to begin with, let's talk about Nitish Kumar and Suhas Yatiraj and their incredible performances in their matches. Tell us about their matches and why they were significant.
So Nitish winning gold and Suhas winning silver, his second back-to-back silver medals for Suhas. That was a pretty good kind of setup the rest of the day for India. The British guy that Nitish was going to face in the final, Daniel Bethel, Nitish had never beaten Daniel before. So him coming to the final was not unexpected. He's the top seed, he's the world number 1, while Bethel is world number 2. So that was kind of expected. But for him to beat Bethel in the final when he's never beaten him before was an incredible win. I think at the end of the Paralympics, if you look back at where the medals, in terms of significance, where the medals rank, Nitish's gold would be one of the more significant ones. And it ended up being the only gold that India won in badminton. And you're right in saying that it was Nitish's biggest match of his life. He has not played that big a match before, and for him to deliver a thrilling win was going to be talked about for a while. Suhas, on the other hand, is no stranger to the final. Probably Tokyo was slightly bigger for him in terms of he was still young-ish. He is now 41, he was 37, 38 back then. So he came very close last time in Tokyo to the same guy, Lucas Mazur of France. And that was a very, very tight game, and he had to finish second with silver. But yesterday, unfortunately, he was just not able to keep up with the French guy. 8,000 packed arena shouting his name, and it felt like Suhas was playing 2 different players. He's playing Lucas and the crowd at some points. It's just so that didn't quite pan out for him. But a 41-year-old winning, and he's now the only badminton player who's won medals in both Tokyo and Paris. So that's credit to Suhas, who also happens to be an IAS officer. That's a very interesting story behind.
And talking about badminton, we have to agree that the badminton court this year was ruled by the Indian female para-athletes. So can you tell us about our 3 female medal winners of the sport?
Yeah, I think is the biggest takeaway from badminton for me from Paris. For comparison, in Tokyo, when para-badminton made its debut for the first time, India had won 4 medals. 2 of those were gold, 1 silver and a bronze. And all of those were male shuttlers. India didn't have much of, off the top of my head, I don't think we had a semi-finalist female shuttlers that we sent to Tokyo. It wasn't a big contingent anyway. But in Paris, the women's singles SU5, which is the upper limb impaired category, we had the world number 1 and world number 2, Tulassimati Murugesan and Manisha Ramadas, who came into Paris as medal contenders. And Tulasi, of course, reached the final, finished with silver, and Manisha played a super bronze medal match to win bronze. And first female badminton medalist from India in Paralympics. So that was a very special achievement. And later, I think the surprise medal of the 8, very late in the night, I think around 2 it started actually, was Nitishri Sumati Sivan winning bronze in the women's singles HH6 category, which is for short stature athletes. And that she beat a player, again like Nitish, she beat a player that she had never beaten before. And it was a bronze, but I think it felt a little more pleasant surprise and very emotional medal for Nitya as well, who had lost in the semi-finals the day before. So after no medals in Tokyo for the women, 3 in Paris is, I think, one of the biggest takeaways for Paris.
Right, and Vinayak, if we talk about archery, we have to talk about Sheetal Devi. We hear that she received a lot of international coverage, from the BBC doing a feature on her to Athletics/New York Times doing a story centered around her. Can you tell us about her and Rakesh Kumar and how they bagged a pretty good victory at the Paralympics?
Before every Olympics, we expect okay, so this is the first time you're going to win a medal. This is the first time you're going to win a medal. And it's just not happened. India has never won a medal in archery at the Olympics. And Paris felt like was the time to break that duck. We have to speak about Sheetal Devi because, even much before Paris, she grabbed quite a lot of coverage internationally. World Archery has been hyping her up for a long time. She's a 17-year-old armless archer. If you haven't seen her shoot, she uses her feet and shoulder and release aid to let the arrows fly. And armless archers have been around for a little bit, not very many in the world. Max Stutzman from the USA is the first. London 2012 was when he made his big breakthrough. And from then, there have been a few more who have come in because there is no armless archery category as such. So they have to compete with people on wheelchairs and, other lower limb impairments. So it's just an absolute sensation. And she's gone viral ever since the Paris Paralympics coverage began. And, internationally, people have been talking about it. So that's the kind of pressure she came in with. And after a lot of hype, she managed to break the world record in the qualification round, which was bettered by another archer by 1 point. So she broke the 700 barrier that no one had broken in this category before, alongside the world champion. And then that kind of set up even more that she was going to win an individual event, and then she ended up losing her first match, which was the kind of a downer after all the expectations that were built up. And then so there was that pressure as well coming into this mixed team event, that the last chance to win a medal. And after making so many headlines and catching so many eyeballs, she had to deal with the pressure. She didn't shoot as well as she could have yesterday, but her partner Rakesh Kumar did a lot of heavy lifting when Sheetal struggled a little bit. And then in the bronze medal match, they managed to shoot a very high quality match and kind of end the long wait for medal in archery at Paris. It's a bronze, but it felt a little quite special given the nature of how things panned out.
Absolutely. And Vinayak, tell us about Yogesh Kathunia's performance in the men's discus throw.
That was actually quite an interesting one because if we throw our minds back a little bit to the Olympics, I think all of us will remember how Neeraj Chopra looked like it was the end of the world almost after winning silver. Like he wasn't smiling at all that night. He seemed quite disappointed with himself. Silver medal for India in Olympics is no joke, but he wanted more from himself. And that has kind of translated in a couple of cases into Paralympics as well. It was the same with Yogesh yesterday, actually. His warm-up throws looked quite good, but he could never replicate that during his event. And Yogesh has been finishing behind the Brazilian athlete for a while now across major events. Batista is his name. And once again, it was him who won gold. And Yogesh again said, afterwards, I'm not happy with silver. This is not what I came for, but I'll keep working. So that's, that's one of the nice things you always like to see in athletes, right? So even winning silver is not quite what they came for, that they know that they can do better. So that is one of those interesting medals that India had in Paris.
And Vinayak, we are still left with a couple of days before the Paralympics conclude. So tell us, what kind of expectations can we have as far as the Indian para-athlete contingent is concerned and the kind of medals that they can still bring home?
Yeah, like I said, we're not going to win 8 medals in a day for the remainder of the Paralympics, that's for sure. So it's going to be a little bit slower from here on, I must say that. There are a couple of javelin events left. There is a shot put event that we have to keep an eye on. And athletics is probably the main source of medals from here on, especially that badminton is over. Archery, there is Harvinder Singh from Tokyo, who created history by winning India's first ever archery medal ever at, the Olympics or Paralympics. He won a bronze in Tokyo. So he is still there. So yeah, there are a few options here and there. Bhavina Patel, silver from Tokyo, but she has a very tough draw here in Paris. Whether they're going to reach 25 or not, I'm not 100% sure at the moment, but I think they should be there and thereabouts, the target that they set. But looking very likely that they will go past Tokyo. That's kind of looking like it's a given right now.
Next, we talk about a recent notification by the central government regarding certain combination drugs. In its notification issued last month, the central government has banned 156 fixed-dose combination drugs.
Recently, the government banned actually 156 combinations, and a lot of these combinations are not very commonly used, but some of them are quite popular, such as chest on cold or Foracet, which people usually take for fever and cold and pain.
That's Indian Express's Anonna Dutt. The central government termed the now banned drugs as irrational and said that they do not have any therapeutic benefits. To understand what fixed-dose combination drugs are, the reasons behind them getting banned, and whether or not they are injurious to health, we have Indian Express's Anonna Dutt joining us. Anonna, can you tell us what are fixed-dose combination drugs?
So fixed dose combination drug is anything which has more than one active ingredient. So chemical compounds that are actually treating different conditions. So for example, a single pill that contains say paracetamol with cetirizine, that is a fixed dose combination.
Right, and which particular FDCs have been banned?
So these drugs have been under scanner for a while now. The issue was first highlighted in 2012, and since then government has been taking actions against various medicines. Around 499 have been banned in 3 trenches according to officials. So this was the latest in that, and banned like huge categories of drugs, some including like antihistamines with different ingredients, or there were combinations of some enzymes for GI problems. Then there were, some treatments which had like acne cream with some sort of antiseptic agent and vitamin E, things like that. So there were these various combinations, 156 of which was banned.
So are they still available in the markets? Are they still within circulation?
So when this order was given, the notification states that these drugs have been banned with immediate effect. But when I spoke to experts and people who are in the drug regulatory mechanism, they told me that usually in such cases, the companies go to court and get some sort of relief, which would allow them to sell off the products that are already available in the market, but not manufacture any new ones. So these medicines are likely to be available for some time in the market.
And Anonna, have similar bans been imposed before as well?
So yes, when I talk about 499, that has happened over a period of many years. The problem of fixed dose combinations was highlighted, in fact, by a parliamentary panel report in 2012, that they said there are several irrational combinations, medicines that either do not work with each other or medicines that are not needed to be taken with each other. Such combinations are available in the market. After this, the government actually set up committees to look at some 3,000 plus drugs that were already available in the market, and they categorized these into different sections. Like some of the drugs were thought to be rational and they were allowed to stay on in the market. Some of the drugs were categorized as irrational and banned, and those drugs which the committee could not determine whether it should be banned, and these drugs were asked to do some clinical trial or present some data which would then form the basis for the drug regulator to approve these.
Right. And you mentioned that some of these drugs are common while some of these are not so common, but people have been consuming them over the time. So are these drugs injurious to health, and what if people continue consuming them for a while?
So, like I said, the companies are likely to get an order saying, they can sell the drugs remaining in the market. And this order would not be possible if the drugs were really unsafe. So the thing is, these drugs have been in the market for years and years, and clearly they have not led to, any deterioration in health conditions, etc. The only thing is, these drugs may be giving additional compounds to the body which are not needed. For example, a combination of, say, a fever medicine with an antibiotic. If you give that to a person who has bacterial infection and has a fever because of that, fine, but there would be people who don't need that antibiotic. So the challenge is to reduce these drugs where people might end up taking compounds which are unnecessary to them.
Right, but Anonna, why did the government ban them now and not before?
So this is a time-consuming process because there is also a lot of litigation involved, especially in cases of drugs that have been there in the market for years. So since 2012, this has been a process that has been ongoing. the various committees looking at different combinations, and in fact there could still be some drugs that would be banned in the coming years. So this process has continued, and this was one of the batches of drugs that have been banned that the committee recommended should be banned because they are irrational, and that is why this action was taken now. It's a continuing process. The good thing, however, is that since the new clinical trial rules came in, that sort of distinguishes that who should be granting permission to which kind of drugs for manufacturing. So it clearly states that any new drug has to be approved by the central authority, and the drugs which are over 4 years old, their manufacturing licenses can be renewed by states. This is likely to prevent more FDCs from entering the market in the future years, because most of these FDCs that are being banned right now were at one point approved by state regulators.
And in the end, we talk about West Bengal's anti-rape bill. In the wake of the rape and murder of a junior doctor in a Kolkata hospital, the West Bengal Assembly yesterday unanimously passed an anti-rape bill called the Aparajita Woman and Child West Bengal Criminal Laws and Amendment Bill. The bill has the provisions for stringent punishment and faster trial in rape cases. The BJP initially opposed the bill and called it an eyewash and diversionary tactic of the TMC government, which is receiving flack for its handling of the Arjikar Hospital rape and murder probe. But the main opposition party supported the bill after proposing some amendments to it. Speaking in the assembly after tabling the bill, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee said that the proposed legislation aims at quick investigation, fast justice delivery and enhanced punishment of the guilty. Once the bill is passed, she said the state will form a special Aparajita task force to ensure time-bound completion of the probe. Significant changes to the investigation and prosecution process stipulated in the bill include the necessity of probes into rape cases to be completed within 21 days of the initial report, which is a reduction from the previous 2-month deadline. Fast-track courts for rape cases and a special task force where women officers will lead the investigations. The bill proposes capital punishment for those convicted of rape if their actions result in the victim's death or leave her in a vegetative state. The legislation proposes life imprisonment for repeat offenders with the possibility of death penalty if the circumstances warrant it. Informing the House that the day of the introduction of the bill coincided with the 1981 UN Convention on Eliminating All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the CM said, quote, "This coincidence gives me goosebumps. You should be thrilled as well," unquote. She added, pointing at the opposition benches. You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Niharika Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.